Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so I know that can be a difficulty on some people because of the weekend thing. I get that. But that's a good time slot for us, and it works well for me. So.
Now, I kind of said I know you couldn't hear me before, but considering I used to do like 2 shows a week, and I just got so busy I had to knock it down to 1, and then I still simulcast with the tech webcast, and that takes up additional time. I probably wouldn't be able to do it weekly, like every once in a while, but I'm free if you want me to do it Sunday. But I know. Well,
I'm not going to do a show this Sunday because it is Easter Sunday.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I actually forgot about that as well. I get so engrossed in what I'm doing it. Sometimes I forget about holidays.
Brian's here. Hey Brian, welcome.
Brian Boer.
Good to have you back on the show, mate.
Colonel Payne, how are you, Chris? Not the Chris Ace too.
Hey, so Brian, so your work was all good, mate? You didn't lose your job?
Doesn't look like it. So I'm not going to worry about it.
That's good.
So did you get any anybody call in? Perhaps they're interested, or any offers, Bruce?
Yeah, I've had a couple people, but I didn't think that they would be a real good fit.
Oh, okay.
So, there's got to be some synergy there.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, got to be on somewhat of the same page, I guess, right?
Right. Well, that's, again, I concentrate more on, business side of things. More than the consumer space.
Now, I don't know if you heard me mention this earlier, because I think you just came in the room. But surprisingly, I've been getting more into business stuff because that's where a lot of the stuff has been focusing on in the news, tech news. Like Apple, people bringing Apple devices into business, and Windows 8, how that's going to integrate with business and things like that. So, lately I've been doing, it seems to be geared more toward the business side of things, which is kind of good because it's something different. I mean, I'm not used to doing business side that much, but it's still kind of interesting.
Well, the last show I did, I talked about Research in Motion, RIM.
Yeah.
And the problems that they're going through. And so that is not something that probably a lot of people are all that familiar with, unless you're in the business world. Not people have heard of Blackberry, obviously, but most of their money comes from the business side of things, selling Blackberry Enterprise Server and all that sort of thing. So we talked about that. Some topics I actually couldn't get to that I wanted to. But yeah, so mostly, I'm covering things going on in the Microsoft world with, like I want to talk about the new version of Office 15, and things like that. And so it's not always as sexy as consumer tech, right?
Yeah.
It's just not. But it's very, very relevant to the audience that I have.
But isn't more consumer things going into the business world, and now they're calling it like consumer IT almost?
Yeah, the consumerization of IT.
Yeah.
And that's just a nice way of saying that for the longest time, when you would go to work for a company, they would assign you, say, a phone, like a Blackberry, and they'd say, this is the kind of laptop we're going to give you, and it's got XP on it or whatever. And that's just the way it was. But now they're letting, more and more companies are saying, if you want to bring a Mac here, okay. If you want to bring your iPhone here, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's killing Research in Motion right now. That very thing is what's putting the hurts on them right now.
What's up, Holland? Holland Rhodes, what's up?
Oh, hey, hello.
Hey, what's up, man? What's going on?
Not much at the moment. Just hanging out, I guess.
Well, I know that they're coming at. They came out with the Mac configurator, which allows. I think it's for smaller businesses. I don't see enterprise using this. You can do up to 30 iPhones, iPads, iOS devices from a centralized location for installing programs. Have you seen that, Bruce?
I have, actually. And the thing is, a business can have their own private app store with Apple.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, well, there is a cost to it, though. You have to pay $300 a year instead of the $100 that individual app developers pay.
Right. But it makes a lot of sense if you're deploying or you're in an environment where you've got hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of iPhone or iOS users out there, and you want to push a company app out very easily. That makes a tremendous amount of sense.
Yeah, I didn't realize. Yeah, I always kind of wondered how there's specific apps that people use only for their businesses. How would they, do they do it through the iTunes store or? And then I guess the other guy brought up that they can make like a private account somehow.
Yeah, you can have your own private account. It does work with the App Store, the iTunes App Store.
Okay, yeah.
My understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that the way the private system works is that it's totally isolated, so the business can control everything on the phone. But it can allow App Store apps in, or it can allow private apps in, but it's isolated enough that they don't really have to think about what Apple's approval process is.
Right. There's no right. You're exactly right. You write an iOS app for your business, your company, or purchase one, however you want to do it. They do have a segregated space, if you will, that you can configure, and you're right. You can set up rules that says they can also purchase other apps and get them to this store, or you can say nothing but these apps. You can go in and pre-select which ones they can have and which ones they can't. So you're absolutely correct on how that would work.
Okay, so I thought that was how it worked.
Yeah, you're right. That is how it works.
So what is the problem, like in corporate, like in business, in the business world, what is the problem with iOS? There's
not a problem per se. There's always been reluctance because of the way that business has always done things, top down, and typically, it's management that's bought into, say, Blackberry, and they've bought into maybe a deal with Dell. So when you hire or you need a refresh, they assign you a phone, they assign you a laptop, and everything's controlled by IT, right? Everything's controlled by the IT department. Well, but the problem is that people buy a phone of choice. They fell in love with the iPhone, for example. They're falling in love with Android devices, and they want to use these at work as well. And as long as you're low-level people, the IT department say, no, you're going to use what we tell you to do. But when you start having management wanting to bring their iPhones in and telling IT, you make this work, right? Because the big boss wants to use a MacBook, let's say, or they want to use an iPhone, then they find themselves like, well, now we need to accommodate this Apple stuff. So that was some of the brilliance, because Steve Jobs was very much opposed to dealing with businesses. Okay, he did not like dealing with businesses at all. And but this was Apple's way of getting into the enterprise through the back door, if you will.
Do you really think that was the goal?
Well, I do think that the halo effect was the end goal.
I think it was
and this was an unintended consequence. I don't think Jobs, by design, said, "Aha, people want to take these to work with them." He was more interested in them buying an iPhone and saying, "Oh, gee, I like that so much, I want to buy a Mac."
I think it was a byproduct.
I like your line of thinking, but what I don't like is that you're attributing to Steve Jobs to this.
Well, I'm attributing the fact that he didn't want to deal directly with enterprise, and that I can source that to the Steve Jobs biography.
Have you met him?
I'm sorry?
Have you met Steve Jobs? Have you met him personally?
No, sir, I never have. I'm going strictly by the biography.
I would totally leave that subject alone then.
All right.
He's gone. He's passed away. We don't know what he wanted.
Well, it's a matter of record, again, by his biographer.
But we still don't know if that biographer was being honest and true.
But that's not the only source. There's also a Time magazine interview that you can refer to with Steve Jobs that also...
He hated the enterprise. Because
so that's not my only source. It's the first one that comes to mind.
Well, here's something that we do know. We do know that Apple is a company was not enterprise focused. In fact,
correct.
they
that's
pretty much shunned enterprise.
Correct.
Yeah.
But if you look at the development history of iOS, Apple certainly sort of bowed out to certain things like putting Exchange support in, although not very well, but putting that in. So if you look at the development of iOS, you can see where enterprise starts to come into it.
That's the brilliance of the thing. Again, this is, I think, I can speculate and say that I think this was a consequence of people using the iOS devices, saying, boy, I'd like to use these at work. Executives liking this stuff and saying, make it work.
Consequence of popularity. That iOS became popular enough that it had to be done.
That's right.
Okay, I agree with that. I think you're right. I think that's the reason that we have Exchange support in iOS.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was a byproduct of people, bringing in their own personal devices and wanting to integrate into their work environment. So.
Yeah, and that's when I talk about the consumerization of IT. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And now Research in Motion is feeling that pain.
But RIM has a really big problem, is that they've only focused on one thing for the past 15 years. And that's worked really well for them, except for the past, 5 years or so?
Well, they just reported their first major quarterly loss.
No, they did.
What's more interesting is their stock price at its high was at $140 a share. Today it's under 14, so it's lost over 90% of its value. And you evaluate stock not necessarily on the earnings today, but what you think what's going to happen to earnings a year down the road, 2 years down the road, and so forth.
Stock prices should be and hopefully are based on 5 years reports. Like you look at today and then you think what's going to happen in 5 years, and that is where you should be buying.
Right. Well,
you should not buy today. You should buy based on.
No, you shouldn't buy today. But obviously, but the point is that investors are very nervous about future. RIM's ability to maintain billions of dollars of revenue into the future. I think we can agree on that.
Here's an interesting thing about RIM: as much money as they're hemorrhaging, they are actually still profitable.
Yes, they are profitable. However, they did post, I think it was, I want to say around $250 million loss this last quarter. But their management, their new CEO, has indicated that the hemorrhaging's not stopped, and they project even more bloodletting over the next at least 3 quarters.
Okay, how? Well, you're not.
They're pinning their hopes on BlackBerry 10.
No, let's say that doesn't work out. Do you think that they have what it takes to go ahead in this market? Do you think that they can compete in this market?
Well, I think they've got a couple advantages that we can't discount too easily. there are organizations that, for example, you cannot, for example, have a phone with a camera, a smartphone with a camera, in certain military type things and so forth.
Oh yeah.
I believe RIM is the only smartphone maker that you can buy a phone without a built-in camera for whatever reason.
Nope. Apple has done that as well. They are now manufacturing phones for the Chinese government that don't have cameras.
Okay, well, I'm not aware of that, but here in the States, it's here.
In the States, you're correct. The cameraless phones are unique to other parts of the world.
Didn't they approve?
Companies that have to deal with what we call HIPAA, which is the Health Information Portability Act. I forget exactly what it stands for, but you know what I'm talking about.
Didn't they recently approve?
Blackberry also has a great way of handling security on that through the enterprise server that makes it very attractive to those markets.
Didn't they recently?
So it does have some.
Didn't they recently approve the iPhone or iOS for government?
What's that, Steve?
Didn't they recently approve the iPhone and or iOS for the government recently? I thought.
The U.S. military did approve iPhone, yes.
Okay,
that's
military.
correct.
Oh, it was military. Okay. I've seen some situations, I guess, security or something. They're afraid you might use the camera or something, but. But I guess it hasn't been proved for the whole government. I guess then it's just the military.
Well, you have to look at what every country does something different, and Apple has a big problem on their hands because they're dealing with a worldwide audience. They're not dealing with just selling phones in the U.S.
Yeah, that's a trap that's easy to get into.
For example, in Japan, your camera has to make the noise, like the shutter noise. Because apparently snapping upskirt pictures is a big problem in Japan.
We recently talked to an audio engineer that said that they actually have to put sounds in certain devices like the ATM. They have to hear that click because people think it's not working correctly, so that kind of makes sense in a way. Because when they push the button, they expect to hear something like a real camera.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's correct.
But at any rate, back to RIM and where they're at right now. So they still have some real advantages today. The question is that you asked me before, can they really compete with what's coming on? And I think that, they're pinning their hopes now on Blackberry 10, as they call it, which won't be really ready until next year, which means there's going to be more quarters of losses, more loss of mind share. And by the way, that's a very important thing.
Actually, you're right. That is very important because they are losing mind share.
And they got a really big black eye here, was it last year, when they had a service outage that lasted not 1, not 2, but like 3 days or so before they began restoring.
I think that was in India, right?
It was more than just India. It rolled out.
No, it started in India, but it ended up worldwide.
Well, worldwide. That was a disaster for them. A disaster.
Yeah, and it did last, like you said, about 2 days.
And I think, if you want to make... They rely a lot on what's called Blackberry Enterprise Server, BES.
Yeah.
And some people love it, and some admins hate it. But it is a complex little beast and expensive. And when the exchange world, now that people's like moving to hosted mail and so forth, so if you got a shop that you're moving over, say from an exchange server with a BES, and you're moving it to Office 365, we haven't even mentioned Windows Phone, by the way, have we? We've not even mentioned
No, we haven't.
that.
So
Okay. So if you want to move away from that...
Wait. I want to ask something. If not mentioning Windows Phone, is that significant? Do we not even care about them anymore?
Well, I think that it's I think Windows Phone has been given a real soft glove treatment for a little while.
Yeah.
I think the reviewers and everybody's taking it really easy on Microsoft. But their hope now is that the Nokia Lumia 900
Whatever it's
is going to.
called.
Is it Lumia? Lumia?
Lumia.
Lumia, Lumia, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
So this is a flagship ultimate Windows phone that you can get.
Yeah.
This is the top of the game.
You have one in your hand?
No, I don't have. I have an iPhone 4S or 4. iPhone 4, not 4.
Okay, that's fine. Have you read reviews of the Lumia?
I have read reviews of it, and the reviewers, what I'm reading, are saying that if you've never had a smartphone before, this could be a good first phone.
Yeah.
I've read that plenty. I've read that the reviewers are not particularly impressed that much with the hardware itself.
I've read something subtly different, that the hardware is good, but it's not being used.
Okay.
But how is that for the flagship phone? I mean, think of Apple puts out their flagship phone. It is a top-notch phone.
It is.
Even when Google does a phone, the Galaxy 2, Nexus. Okay.
Nexus.
I haven't touched one either. But
there you go.
That's a really good phone.
They're great phones. They're great phones. Galaxy Nexus are great phones, and I've got nothing against Google. They're great phones. I love my iPhone 4S. It just comes down to each person on what you want to use the phone for.
But look at what Microsoft has done. They've released their flagship OS, and the phone they put it on just isn't that great.
Well, if you don't like it, don't use it. It's simple as that.
Well, but Brad, I think in the greater context, when you start talking about mind share in the enterprise, you could make a case that Microsoft is a day late and a dollar short on this product.
Just because they.
Oh, well, I'm not really that worried about it. I'm happy with the iPhone, and I don't really care whatever.
Well, and that doesn't make you unique at all. A lot of people feel that very same way, whether it's an Android phone or a Windows phone, or a iPhone.
Yeah, definitely.
But the question, really, in the enterprise, it has always been traditionally a case where IT says this is the phone you're going to get, this is the laptop you're going to get here's the apps you're going to use, etc. This is what's assigned to you. But with consumerization of IT taking off, people are now getting a choice of the phone that they want, the operating system, and the machine that they want to use. And if you're a company like RIM that's dependent on the company saying this is what you're going to get, and you don't have the mind share of the worker bees, okay, this is a scary proposition. That's my point.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Steve, can I just have a quick word to you on Skype, mate? Just about something about. Oh shoot! I don't know if I can even do it while I'm doing the broadcast. Can you? Okay. iMessage me and I'll receive it on the computer. Yeah. It's just about the podcast. Scott from Audio won't be on until 1:30 my time. Oh, okay. And also, there's a small problem. I need to call him on his phone, which I haven't got any credit on my Skype. So you're thinking you're going to delay it for half an hour? Well, yeah, I think I might have to, but I don't know how I'm going to call him because I can't call him because I haven't got any credit on my Skype. Oh, jeez. Yeah. Do you have any credit on your Skype or? Oh no, I just use the free version. I never had any Skype credits. Can you call? What do you use to call people? Can you call anyone, or I need to get him on the call? Like I need to call him. Does he live in America?
Wait. Why can't you use the Google call to Hangouts?
It won't let me do it. Said it wouldn't work.
Why won't it let you do it?
Because I don't have any credit.
No, the Google call to Hangouts, you can call anybody. Yeah, but it's still not free though. Yeah, it's free. Well, not for me. I called someone else the other day and they wouldn't let me do it. Huh. Just let me go and buy some more credit. I was going to buy some more credit on Skype. We could probably